Yo, how long's it been, huh? Me? I'm working on this little thingy thing, and it's starting to come together, so that's why I'm kinda happy. But I do got bad news. My tablet broke. And I heard if you switch drawing tablets, things might look a little different. Whatever that means. But yeah, since you brought up adaptations in this relationship to the source material, and I so happen to have a paper right here about a similar topic, let's talk about it. When I was a wee lad, my cousins, siblings, and I would walk 30 minutes to our public library every once in a while. I must have been like 9. Well, 9-year-old me would always immediately go to the manga and comic section, and I'm looking at the manga in particular. But I remember one of the last times I went to this specific library, I picked up Nightwing, The Runaways, who remembers that? And then eventually, I picked up this bold purple text on the left edge of the book with a bright red cover for issue 5 of The Watchmen. Because libraries always got some dude with the first 3 issues of everything. I sat and read a good amount of it, but I didn't take it. The Watchmen was a lot of reading, and I'm not a scholar. Nah, I didn't take it for a different reason. But I remember the book a lot because my 13-year-old imagination felt like the book was some sort of cartoon or something. The panels felt like they were moving when you're reading it in a different way than manga does with their action lines and their smears. It was slow with these bright colors and detailed scenes. It was like every line and color conveyed the tone of the moment in this sort of abstract way. And the paneling in and of itself was like each frame that was chosen to be illustrated served some sort of purpose. Maybe it was to show you that this was a slower moment or a moment worth analyzing. And this unique paneling style forces the author to think of ways that wouldn't allow them to waste a single panel. You see, for the most part, one panel isn't bigger than the other, but their value is in where they are placed in the page. Like most comics, one panel can lead your eye to a more important panel, because if one frame doesn't serve itself, it serves the next one. But in Watchmen, they're all the same size. It makes most frames share the same value, and I think this is why most panels are so detailed. There are hidden Easter eggs sprinkled all over the book, with the unique color palette showing you the atmosphere of the scene. Watchmen is arguably the best comic book ever made. Hey Faye, did you tell him to watch that video? Yeah, I gotta do that. You should watch this video made by Insider. If you're curious about the art, or if you already read The Watchmen and you like the art, they talk about it all. They talk about the artists. They talk about the paneling. It's so good. I'm actually using scenes from the video right now. Anyway, back to what I was talking about. Although the story rules and the characters are interesting, it's that paired with the interesting choices made for every single aspect of comic book design that makes its adaptation, although dang near beat by beat the same, unable to capture the synthesis of framing, color palette, and story, because that's not what the medium of film calls for. See, the movie rules, by the way. Very tough. It's still stylized, but it could never be as stylized as the source material, with it being a different medium altogether and all. But that just might be me, though. That might just be me. A friend of mine, Key, subscribe to Key, epic segue by the way, was telling me about this book he was reading called That Was Then and This Is Now. He said that his favorite, I'm sorry, I just wanted to try that out. He said that his favorite thing about the book was how it was written and how interesting the narrator tells the story. Now, the book had a movie, which I didn't watch, but it couldn't possibly convey the type of narration found throughout the entirety of the book, right? So that poses a question. What aspects... Oh my gosh, can y'all hear that? I know y'all hear that. But that poses the question, what aspects can be and or should be kept when adapting something? The Boys is a show that has been adapted from a very odd source material. One where I hear very little praise from, but ever since it was adapted, a lot of the ideas were reworked, sometimes from the ground up, in a way that makes you kind of think, why did they even choose this as something to reinvent? I'm not mad at it either, but I want to know who was at that pitching meeting. I've been loving The Boys, the show, and Ayo. And it seems like Amazon realized that the comic definitely did have some good and unique ideas and wanted to make it have more depth. Character interactions are more meaningful and consequences are actual consequences. The Boys comic is missing a lot of those existential moments from Homelander and almost everything with A-Train. This makes me wonder about the fan base for the comic because the show is very different and it is really good. A lot of people consider this peak The Boys, and it seems like now a lot of people read the books just to find out how bad it is compared to the show. I think this is a little bit of a problem because just like Amazon, we recognize that the concept for The Boys is actually a pretty good idea. The whole anti-hero team fighting a corrupt superhero corporation, it's good stuff. Its source material author, though, had no intention to have the comic and its characters have as much dimension as Huey, for example, and wanted The Boys to be a big, hero-killing gobbledygook. Who doesn't like superheroes? I mean, you know what? Never mind. You know, let's just get on with it. The Fallout show is one of the few adaptations that don't take known characters and give them a fresh new coat of paint. That in and of itself doesn't make a good show, you know, having different characters and all. But it takes the load off the writers, doesn't it? This is kind of in stark contrast to the Halo show, where Master Chief, a character that players have already associated with many distinct character traits over years, is completely different. As I'm recording this video, we just got news that Robert Downey Jr. is going to be Doctor Doom. Guys, till he's 90. And The Last of Us, Joel and Ellie are relatively the same, and The Last of Us game is basically already a movie, so. But then there's games to games. Can we call it remake an adaptation? Either way, I want to talk about this because I recently have been playing the Resident Evil remakes and a smidge of the originals, and it made me think, hold up. Resident Evil 2 on its release in 1998 was very well received. Resident Evil 1, which had released 2 years before that in 96, became the most sold PlayStation game at the time, making RE2 one of the most anticipated sequels of all time. RE1 and 2 are very ambitious games for the PS1, whatever. They had various detailed character models on screen interacting with each other, paired with very detailed scenery, unlike most 3D PSX games. The only way they were able to pull off this much detail for the whole game is because the locations and its various angles were not rendered in 3D space on the fly. Like most other PSX games and Leon and the rest of the zombies, they're all rendered in 3D space, but for this game, there are PNGs stocked on top of each other. I think it's PNGs, some sort of image format. And they also have boundaries and layers to simulate depth. The fixed camera angles are actually a result of this, but what's interesting is that, in my opinion, it adds to the tension. Something can be hidden in a part of the room that isn't on screen. This is a unique mechanic made by creative developers with a lack of resources, truly thinking outside the box. You know, I'm starting to realize RE is kind of similar to the way things are here. Like, maybe the opposite. Anyway, Resident Evil continued to release games as technology kept on advancing, and that leads us to 2019, when RE2 Remake was released. Now, RE1 did have a remake as well a while back, with the same fixed camera angle perspective, but RE2's remake didn't. And this makes me wonder, was this how RE2 was actually envisioned? Now, if you would just allow me a moment to cook, let's say during the development of the original, we had the technology that we do now for just this case. Would Leon's appearance be different? Is this how RPD station would look? It's kind of an unnecessary question, but it's still a question though. See, the dialogue of RE2 is definitely a product of its time, and I'm sure the character design team is different now. And I'm sure that the RE2 remake had many influences up till now, so I think no. I don't think this is the idea for Resident Evil Capcom and Shinji Mikami had in mind in the 90s. It's something new, something that's a result of the original. I'm talking butterfly effect. So I guess my thesis statement is, my friend said I should have a thesis statement. So I guess my thesis statement is, does an adaptation need to be faithful? Does an adaptation take away from the source material? What if it's more popular? What if it's so different that the fans of the original do not claim this adaptation? From one medium to another, from one form to another, from past to future, things get lost. But then again, why remake something if you didn't want something to be different, right?
The game's over.
All right. I think the machine's good to go now. So, adaptations. Got any good ones? Any bad ones? By the way, if you want to use the cabinet anytime, just let me know. Oh, and between you and me, I might get a pet. Who knows? Who knows? Well, good night, everybody. End card. Hey. Okay. A lot of stuff has happened since my last video, and a lot of stuff has happened with the channel since the last video. Also, if you're new here, this is the end card. We do it every single time, except for sometimes, but that's just the way that things go. And I also do it in one take, so yeah. So thank you guys for 400. I think we're at 480 right now. I don't know this. Thank you guys for showing so much support. I will be in the comments. I was just busy, but we're not busy anymore. Actually, school's starting back up, and I gotta get a job. So I gotta get a new job. Yeah, like I said, a lot of life stuff is happening. I moved a little. But yeah, thank you for watching. Thank you for being here. Have a nice day, and try to make it outside today.